Underwater survey of coral reef habitats is being undertaken to document their status and general biodiversity. The goal was to characterize the coral reef ecosystem and identify impacts associated with project development and operation. The distribution of the hard corals in the project sites should be accounted for in the construction and operation phase of the project, particularly the location of the outfall. Construction may cause sediments to be suspended, and these sediments can smother coral colonies on the coral patch. The effect of sedimentation should vary given that there are different species that can be observed in the area. Branching and foliose corals should be most adversely affected, while massive corals may be able to tolerate the sedimentation during construction to a certain degree. Earth-moving and backfilling activities within the project site would potentially result to soil erosion. This would lead to silt moving into the water column along the coastal waters and finally settling at the bottom of the seabed. The movement of the silt along the water column will lower down the availability of sunlight to penetrate the water, causing a reduction in visibility and hindering photosynthetic activities for organisms growing on the seabed. The settling of silt on top of corals would cause stress to the growth of corals. This may result to loss of some of the coral species in the immediate vicinity of the proposed project site. The increase in usage of boats to transport workers should be expected during the construction phase. These boats may use anchors when docking along the coast. Indiscriminate throwing of anchors in reef areas will potentially damage the corals inhabiting the area. The amount of sediment disturbance on the seafloor when lowering materials for offshore construction will depend on the sinking speed of the material and the property of the sediments. Silt curtains need to be installed during construction to minimize drift of silt or sediments on the adjacent coral patch. The silt curtain will act as a barrier between the construction site and the coral area. Silt curtains should extend from the seawater surface to the seafloor, and its design would depend on the hydrodynamic conditions such as current, tides and waves. Likewise, installation of warning buoys before any construction over the coral area perimeter will help identify the high-risk areas. Construction of temporary drainage canals would need to be undertaken to divert the runoffs coming from the proposed project site from discharging into areas where good coral cover was noted. Temporary copper dams can be installed to minimize construction materials from being transported away from the construction area and settling in adjacent areas. Temporary structures similar to mooring dolphins will need to be installed to minimize boat operators from using their anchors when docking. This will minimize additional damage to corals due to indiscriminate throwing of anchors within reef areas. Likewise, a temporary jetty needs to be constructed to minimize boat operators from using their anchors to dock along the coast.